y'all. Welcome to another episode of Kingdom Women Talk. Today we're going to be talking about what are you serving? Conditional or unconditional love? What a loaded question, but we're going to dig into it. Come on and join in the conversation. What are you serving? Conditional, unconditional love?
What? I mean, let's be honest. I think we've served a little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, we plated both of them, of course.
Yeah. But if you were to ask me, what would you like to serve? Conditional or unconditional love? I would say unconditional love. But sometimes the fleshy part of me wants to put conditions. At least I used to, you know. Because that goes back to, as a married woman, your husband makes you mad, you withhold. Is that conditional or unconditional?
That would be conditional.
Exactly.
Right, that would be conditional.
Right.
Because conditional is that love that you have to earn. Mm-hmm. I'll love you as long as this. Mm-hmm. I'll show you that I love you as long as that. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like puppeteering.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you jumping and hopping and moving, and I'm happy, then we can be lovey-dovey. But as soon as things don't go the way I think they should, you say the wrong thing, then I'm scaling it back. I'm putting walls up. I'm withholding, and sometimes I'm even saying things that I shouldn't say. Right? I'm coming for you. With everything blazing. So what are you serving? Conditional, unconditional?
I would have to say unconditional. However, it didn't start out that way.
Oh.
It progressed to unconditional. Conditional was, I had expectations. I loved material things. So I expected to receive certain things on like my birthday, which is not a bad thing, but to have that placed as a part of how you're going to love an individual is not okay. Yeah. So working through that and knowing that that is not okay, I had to change my expectations as far as that was concerned, and that led me into loving unconditionally.
That's good. Mm-hmm. That's really good, because we can put a lot of stock in what is given to us, because sometimes people think the gifts mean I love you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I shouldn't have to tell you I love you. Don't you know
I show you?
I show you every day.
But you know what? It's funny that you say that, because also some men think that just because they pay the mortgage, pay the light bill, then that's their way of saying I love you. Mm-hmm. Because remember, we emulate what we've been taught. And sometimes we haven't been taught how to love unconditionally. So how can I give that to you?
Right.
I can't give that, because I think I'm more of the same, wherein I can say I love unconditionally today, but it did not start that way. Mm-hmm. But now thinking about it, did you know that you weren't loving unconditionally?
Mm-mm. I didn't at first. I didn't. No.
It's like, who knew, right? Because we are a product of our environment, so we love how we were loved. Yeah. Which means that if I don't have an example of unconditional love, then I can't show that. Or if I don't have an example of conditional, because you have some people that come out the gate unconditionally loving, just, out here freestyling it, right? Yeah. But then you have that's because that's what they came from. Mm-hmm. And it works. But then most of us, we don't know that we're placed in conditions or in our love. Like when you do something to me and I scale it back. Okay. But then when things I'm full throttle again. Mm-hmm. Conditions. Yeah. So how do we break that? How did you break that cycle? How did you break the cycle of not showing the conditions?
I think, like I said, as far as my expectations, I had to kind of go and see, like, are my expectations attainable? Are they not? Are they out of reach for my husband? Like, am I really making it hard for him to attain what I'm expecting? You know, and I had to ask him that question. You know, although he said no, I didn't. I still felt like to some degree I did.
Right.
So in that aspect, and not trying to make it hard for him, I stopped expecting, to be very honest. That was the way that I chose to deal with it, and to rework and rewire myself and my expectations.
That's really good, because even if they don't meet our expectations, we still should love them. It's like, that's the aha moment in it, right? Like, or we still expect love even if we don't measure up to someone's, because it doesn't have to be husband and spouse. It could be parent relationships.
Absolutely.
It could be sibling relationships. Even though we don't meet that expectation, that goal, that whatever, that milestone, can't do, should have done, was supposed to do, my love shouldn't change.
Right.
My love should not change.
Right.
But I think first we've got to get a real good understanding of what love is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we toss that word around
So very true.
so quickly, so frequently, so carelessly, you know. But if we were to really be honest and think about John 3:16, God loved us before we loved him. You know, while we were hot messes, he still loved us. So when we're thinking about love, you know, what is our frame of that word?
Yeah.
You know, of course, as humans, we think being connected to another human being, husband, wife, children, parents, you know. But on the larger scale, what is conditional love or unconditional love? You know, we have the world's definition, but we should be going by God's definition.
So then because oftentimes you hear people say, if you love me, then you wouldn't treat me like that. Right? Are they synonymous? Are they work hand in hand? Like, what do you...
I mean, yes, because love is action.
So, but what if they don't know, right? Because also love is taught. I guess I'm just kind of walking it out, like, in my thoughts. Like, people say that all the time, if you love me, you wouldn't treat me that way. However, the way that I treat you is what I know. You can't do better if you don't know better.
And some people honestly love the person that they're with. Their behavior is not a reflection of that person, it's a reflection of themselves.
So it's almost like God says, love the person, abhor the sin.
Yes.
Right. So the human being, I love you. Do I like how you treat me? No. Though I think that's what love looks like. Well, I guess it depends on what lens you're looking out of. Because if for person A, yeah, that's what love looked like. Because that's how my mama loved my daddy. Or that's how my daddy loved my mom. Person B, absolutely not. Because that's not what it looked like over here. So I guess it goes back to, what do you identify as being loved? Like you said, what is your framework for being loved? Because if everyone's experiences bring them to that point of what the definition of love is, then if we ask 100 people, we could get 100 different answers. You know, 100 different answers, which is why I guess it's important then, don't be weighing in on nobody's love situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't be weighing in because you don't know the backstory, right? Because the love they're showing today could be the best thing since sliced bread, considering the fact they may not receive any love.
Yeah.
Don't know how to love. They just started opening up, you know, before we start passing judgment. So then, can we love people right where they are?
Yes, you can. And even loving them right where they are, you help to bring them to a level of love where you are. Yeah. So they're able to see it. Yeah. They're receiving it. They know what it feels like. They know what it looks like. So they're able to see and know that, hey, I can do that too. If she's giving me that, why wouldn't I want to give her that back?
Yes.
How many adults have we come in contact with or even talked to that say they've never heard the word love as a child growing up, or they never felt a hug from their parent growing up, but they long for that?
Yes. Yeah.
So even as they're maturing and they're growing, and you showing them what they've missed, it helps them to reach and attain a level of love that they need to get to.
Or they, and I'm talking because that was me, they become what they didn't get.
Yeah.
They didn't get the love, the nurturing. Yeah. So what they perceive as love, they pour out.
Yes. And they do that well.
And they do it well.
They do it well because you have experience in that, right? You know what you know, and you do that well.
Right.
But also, what about people don't realize that unconditional love is rooted in fear, right? Sometimes I'm scared to love. Sometimes I'm scared to open up. Right? I built this wall, and now you're asking me to walk in an area that's unfamiliar and unsafe for me. You know, because sometimes things have happened in people's past that they don't want to open that door and explore. And now we're asking them to do. They love the person? Yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm asking you to give something that you haven't done in ever.
That can be a challenge and scary at the same time. You know, but if you give them, you know, the room to do that, a safe place to do that, then they're able to walk in that. Although it may be scary at first. Yeah. You know, you can help them, you know, by even giving them some ideas. Like, here, you can do this to show love, or you can let me do this for you so you'll know how it feels, or know what you're supposed to do. Yes. Not automatically thinking, oh, they should know what I expect or know what I'm looking for.
But don't people think that though? You hear that so often in relationships. Like, we've been together 15 years. You should automatically know, well, how?
Yeah.
How? And I hear people say, because they're an adult. Okay. They're adult by age.
Right. Right.
Yeah, their age qualifies them as an adult, but adulting and knowing how to treat someone, how to love someone, how to nurture someone, that's not a partnership.
Right.
You know, so yes, we may have to teach our significant others, our family members, our parents, our mothers and brothers, sisters, whatever bestie relationships, how to love unconditionally, which can have a conversation. I remember having a conversation to say, you know what? Okay, now you're mad with one of my family members, and I was like, now you're mad, so I don't expect to hear from you for a couple of weeks. Because that was the cycle.
Yeah.
That's that unconditional love. I expected it. I knew it was going to happen. And it got to the point where it don't even bother me. It'll be fine. I'll see you in 3 weeks. You know, I'll see you in 3 weeks. Does it make it right? No. But I also realized by me saying that, that person began to change. After I said it, it wasn't 3 weeks. In a couple of days, it was checking on you. So maybe it starts with a conversation about expectations and how I would like to be loved.
I completely agree that is a complete icebreaker as far as that's concerned. As far as when you have the conversation, because again, if you don't tell them, they don't know. They really don't know until you verbalize it. You're clear with your message, what it is that you expect. And then it's up to them from that point to take that and do, you know, and act upon it basically.
So do you think that we set people up for failure when we don't tell them that?
I don't think intentionally. Because if we don't know ourselves, you know, like, again, I think it's the idea of love. You know, and as human beings, you know, we're doing the best we know how to do in some areas. Some of us, you know, if we haven't had either conditionally, well, most cases, if you come from an environment, the love is based on conditions. Yeah. You know, and so you try not to take that environment and make it a part of yourself. You know, you
Right.
try to go out and do the opposite, and sometimes you go to the extremes with it.
Yeah.
You know, if that makes any sense.
does.
You know, I wasn't loved, so I'm a love. You know, I'm a love hard, and you know, and,
But now you're worse than
and now,
now you're getting on my nerves, right?
Or-
Because I can't breathe. You're smothering me.
or exactly, you become needy,
Yes.
clingy,
Yeah.
insecure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you become all the negatives of love.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, well, I wasn't loved, but I'm going to show you how much I love you. And, you know, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And, you know, anytime you need me, I'm there, to the point where you're wearing yourself out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
there
know.
has to be some balance in that.
Right.
Some balance in that. But I think also creating the awareness. You got to know where you are. And it could be different in different relationships. For this relationship, you could be unconditional. For this relationship, it could be conditions. But why? Why are there conditions? Right? Why are you placing conditions? Is it because you don't trust the person? Is it because you don't feel safe with the person? Is it that you don't know how to give them unconditional love? If it's what you said, well, they just suck the life out of me. You do have some people that just suck the life out you. Like,
Right.
they're exhausting. You know, so is that the reason that it's happening? You got to get to that so that you can change the behavior piece of it, because unconditional love is not about, you know, it's like blame. It's not about the other person.
Yeah.
We got to do it for us, because that's what God requires of us, to love unconditionally. He loves us unconditionally. So the expectations that we will love his people, because they're his people, our family, our friends, our co-workers, you know, unconditionally and without conditions. And I think that in itself is the best self-check you can have. Like,
Because you have to ask yourself, okay, if I place conditions on this person being in my life, conditions to love them, who's missing out? Them or me? And 9 times out of 10, it's you.
yeah.
You know, you're the one that's missing out.
Yeah.
Because they're not wanting to be around someone who places conditions on. Now, conditions and boundaries are 2 separate things.
Yes, thank you for saying that. Thank you for really saying that,
know,
Sheila,
yeah.
because you're right. Boundaries and conditions are 2 different things. With boundaries, I'm not withholding.
Right.
I'm not withholding anything. Loving conditionally means I'm withholding something. With boundaries, I'm just saying, this is what's comfortable for me, or this is what as far as I would like to go. And that's healthy.
Yeah.
That's healthy. So I'm glad that you did say that, because any love relationship, anyone you love, there should be some type of healthy boundary.
Absolutely.
There
Yeah.
that you can establish. I don't know if all the time we're conscious about loving conditionally or unconditionally, because it can creep in. It can be situational situation. It can be situational, and it can happen day by day, minute by minute. So I think heightening the awareness, as long as we are aware and we recover quickly, is going to be the key to keeping our relationship. Because remember, love covers a multitude of sin.
Yes.
So which means that no matter what that individual is doing, if we truly love them, we can still continue to love them.
Right.
Right. So,
Yeah.
okay. So wonderful conversation about conditional, unconditional relationships. And I think we should just take a moment to encourage others. So I'll start and then I'll pass it for your moment of encouragement. Those who are in relationships where they see themselves as being loved or loving others as unconditional, I just encourage you to determine why and deal with that. And because maybe that person may not need to be a part of your life, but always remember, because Jesus loves us unconditionally, then the expectations that we will offer the same to those that we have in our life. What would you say, Sheila?
I would say do a self-check. Do a self-check. You know, how do you love yourself? And as I said earlier, what boundaries are you setting? Because the boundaries help you determine if you're going to love someone unconditionally or conditionally. But you have to start with yourself first.
Good. What about you, Angela?
I would say I'll go back to what you were saying a moment ago about love covering a multitude of sin. When you see someone that is not displaying love or reacting with love, I would say take a moment and consider the space that they're in at that moment.
Yeah.
They may need grace. Which means they may need you to cover them
Yeah.
during that span of time in that season to give them grace to get to the point of loving unconditionally.
Right.
So I would say not to be judgmental in your views of another individual and where they
Right.
are, but really consider heavily where they are and walk in the love that God would have you to walk in
Yes.
to cover them during that season.
Yes.
That's good.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of Kingdom Women Talk. Please continue to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Kingdom Women Talk. Until next time, be blessed.